Yeah.
Sarah's book. So I got it today. And Jim
Actually, before we get started, I'm gonna look at it. Here.
She was like, I texted her, I was like, hey, next summer, can I go see 5 seconds of summer? She was like, yeah, if you train someone. And I asked Hunter, and he said yes. So we're gonna FaceTime and buy the tickets tonight.
Nice. That's exciting.
Even though it's next summer, it's fun. It's like a graduation present.
Let's see. Seniors for next year. That is Alyssa. This person's gone. This person will be gone. Tom, Hunter, Madison. David, are you sticking around? Gross. Genesis, LeBron, Sarah, Cece, Cade, Randall, Kyla. You have 11. There will be 11 in next year's graduation. What?
I haven't seen Kyla at all.
I didn't say Kyla was leaving.
No, I graduated class.
She will be graduating next year. Oh, calm down. You got a year. Okay. Too much emotion. Okay. First thing, let me plug it. Let me plug in before we get started because I'm going to show you a few things. Come on. Here we go. I don't know why it always messes up my Zoom. Wait a minute, I didn't take attendance. That's the first order of business. Supposed to do it within the first 3 minutes of every class. Well, apparently the state will take away our money if we don't. So, okay, so the first thing is, does anybody have any specific questions about the test tomorrow? Just giving everybody an opportunity. Okay, well, obviously, if you have any questions, content-wise, you can email me between now and 11 a.m. tomorrow. If you have any questions app-wise or anything like that, you can email Miss Kokel or Mike. Hopefully, all of that stuff will be fine. What we're going to do today is, first, we are going to go over the rubric for your exam, for your essays, and then we're gonna do a little Kahoot. I have actually posted, or at least have set to post, a bunch of different Kahoots and Quizlets that you could use to study if you choose to. And then actually, David and Kyla, I have to get y'all to do this survey, but we'll deal with that in a few minutes. It's because y'all are in 11th grade. Okay, so the first thing, on Canvas, I've posted this thing, AP Langenkamp exam rubric, and I'm just going to open it up. I'm going to share my screen with you guys so we can kind of go through it together. There's actually 3 different rubrics, one for each kind of exam, but they're very similar. So we might not go through it in extreme detail, but I want you guys, we looked at this very early in the year for the record, but I don't really expect for you guys to remember that. Also, just for the record, you have 45 multiple choice questions. That counts for 45% of your overall grade, not in the class, but on the exam. And then you have your 3 essays, and together they count for 55%. So obviously the essays are a little bit more important, but that's not to say that the multiple choice is not, because, you know, it would be surprising if anybody totally bombed the multiple choice and then did amazing on all the essays. You know, there's usually some sort of correlation. They bombed the multiple choice and then did okay on the, that's surprising. Interesting. So the first one we're going to look at is the synthesis essay. They all have 6 points. The points are kind of awarded in the same way. They just kind of use like a sample for each one. And this one, the one that this one is based on, I think we did this. If we didn't do it, we at least read sample essays about the future of public libraries. And they were like charts and stuff about other events that the library puts on. And you're supposed to argue for whether you like what you think the future of public libraries will look like and what role you think they'll play. So for each kind of essay, you're awarded from 0 to 6 points. The first point, you get 1 point for your thesis. And if you look at this, I'm gonna actually like make this a little bit bigger. You will not get any points if there's no defensible thesis, if the thesis only restates the prompt, if it has a summary, but it doesn't have an actual argument or claim, or if you have a thesis, but it is not about the topic at all. Always stay on topic. you do get your point if you respond to the prompt with a thesis that presents a defensible position. Now that shouldn't be too hard, but thesis statements are something that we have overall struggled with this year. Just remember, first of all, don't say I believe or I think or in my opinion. Try to leave personal pronouns out of it, but say exactly what it is you're arguing. So for instance, with this one, the public libraries, you might say something like, the future of public libraries is very likely to change in the future. Well, that was redundant. The role of public libraries is very likely to change in the future, but it will still have a prominent role in education and community. That was pretty good, actually. You can tell from that exactly what you're going to be talking about. You take a stance. I kind of took a qualifying stance with that one, which again, qualifying is like, this is what I think, but with this exception. This goes into a little bit more detail about how to earn that point, and it's got some examples of ones that work, ones that would earn the point, and ones that would not. And just to kind of look at these, the ones that don't earn the point, ones that are not good enough, ones that just restate the prompt, such as some people question whether libraries can stay relevant, others say there are new possibilities for them. First of all, that's a comma splice, but second of all, that's not arguing anything. It's just restating the question you're supposed to be responding to. If it addresses the topic but doesn't take a position, like libraries are the places that spark the educational fire in individuals, which is crazy to think there might be an end to them. Again, you're not taking a position, you're just saying it's crazy to think that libraries might not be around, but do you actually think they won't be around? You need to be clear. Or, stating an obvious fact as a claim. Libraries have been around for hundreds of years. Yeah, okay, of course. The thesis can be more than one sentence, provided the sentences are in close proximity, like right next to each other. I kind of warn students away from that just because it can be hard to determine what sentence or sentences you mean your thesis to be. The thesis can be anywhere within the response, but what we're really striving for is the last sentence of the intro. If they can find a thesis somewhere, they'll give you the point. And that's the good thing about the graders, the ones who are reading these essays, is that where they can give you points, they will. They'd rather give you points than take stuff away. The sources have to include at least minimal evidence that could be used to support the thesis, but you don't need to cite the evidence to earn the thesis point. It may establish a line of reasoning that structures the essay, but it doesn't have to. And that's, I've sort of given you guys like a formula for a thesis that's like, agree with this statement because reason 1, reason 2, and reason 3, and your reason 1 would be your first paragraph, your reason 2 would be your second paragraph. You don't have to structure it like that, but you can. And a thesis that meets the criteria can be awarded the point whether or not the rest of the response successfully supports that line of reasoning. So if the only good thing you have going for your essay is a strong thesis, at least you have 1 point. Now, this is where most of your points come from. Evidence and commentary, and this you can get 0 to 4 points. And this is basically just like the bulk of your essay. This is the body. You'll get no points if you just restate your thesis, if you even have one. If you repeat the information that you're given in the prompt, or if you refer to fewer than 2. If you only have 0 or 1 sources, you will not get a point. Remember, you're trying to use 3 sources. We're talking specifically about the synthesis essay here. You'll get 1 point if you provide evidence from at least 2 of the sources, and if you summarize the evidence but don't explain how the evidence supports your argument. We can do better than 1 point. 2 points you would be using at least 3 of the provided sources. And you get the commentary point from explaining how some of the evidence relates to your argument, but don't really have a line of reasoning, or your line of reasoning is not clear. You'll get 3 points if you provide very specific evidence from at least 3 of the sources, and you need to explain how some of the evidence supports a line of reasoning. But of course, we're aiming to get 4 points, which is when you provide specific evidence from at least 3 of the provided sources to support everything you're saying in your thesis, and consistently explain how the evidence supports a line of reasoning. So it kind of just shows here like typical responses that earn these points, things we want to make sure that we don't do. Not addressing the prompt, that's a big no-no. Just giving your opinion without referring to the sources, using a lot of summary or describing what the sources are rather than having them back up your argument. Excuse me. You know, simplistic or repetitive explanations that don't really make your argument any stronger. We're really aiming for these. Organize your argument, incorporate your evidence, be very specific. Those will get you your points. And it also points out that writing that suffers from grammatical or mechanical errors that interfere with communication cannot earn the 4th point in this row. And what that means is, I've told you guys before that like spelling doesn't matter too much. Your grammar is not like, it's not the end of the world. If you have some errors, they're not going to take points away from that unless it's to the point where they can't understand what you're trying to say. And then you won't get that point. And then the last point is for sophistication. The 0 points is very vague, does not meet the criteria for 1 point. But the 1 point is if you demonstrate sophistication of thought or a complex understanding of the rhetorical situation. Basically, if it's really well written. And, you know, that's kind of one of those things that you want to give yourself as much time. You want to try to go back over it. And that's very hard to do in 40 minutes. But, you know, be as articulate as you can. Be very specific. And it also points out that it should be awarded only if the sophistication of thought or complex understanding is part of your argument, not merely a phrase or reference. Like you might have one really lovely sentence, but if the rest of it is garbage, then you're not going to get this point. So the points are the same for every kind of essay. It's always 1 for thesis, 4 for evidence and commentary, and 1 for sophistication. So we're not going to go through this very in depth, but just to show you again, your 1 thesis point here is if you respond to the prompt with a defensible thesis that analyzes the writer's rhetorical choices. If you don't do that, you don't get your point. Again, you need to provide specific evidence to support all claims in your line of reasoning. Everything you said you were going to talk about in your thesis, make sure that you do. Consistently explain how the evidence supports your line of reasoning, and explain how multiple rhetorical choices in the passage contribute to the writer's argument, purpose, or message. There we go. Got frozen up for a sec. And then the sophistication points, the same thing. The last one is your argument. And again, 1 point for the thesis. I think that would be the easiest thesis point to get because you don't have to incorporate other stuff or like make sure that you're addressing the rhetorical choices. You just need to present a defensible thesis. Your evidence and commentary points, pretty much the same thing. Specific evidence, consistently explain how the evidence supports your line of reasoning. Well, good Lord, this keeps getting frozen up. And then again, demonstrate sophistication of thought or complex understanding of the rhetorical situation. So that should help you understand where your points are coming from. And I've posted that. Now, I'm also going to publish a bunch more Kahoots and Quizlets that you can use You do not have to, it is up to you. Except for right now, we're all gonna do one Kahoot together. And I didn't make this one. If you totally bomb this, it'll be okay. This isn't for a grade or anything, but for ones that y'all tend to miss a lot of, I'm probably gonna like stop and explain a little bit. So let's play. Let's Kahoot. Bum, bum, bum. Dabbed. David, where are you going next year? I think you told me that. In Asheville, right? I love it too. I haven't been in a long time though. I used to live so close to it. I get there in like 45 minutes. Okay, I know we don't have Victoria. I don't know who else we don't have, but fixing to start. All right, if you're not in, pay attention. Very important. It's our last chance to review. 66, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize. We don't have to do this whole thing, guys. A common, often used expression that doesn't make sense if you take it literally. I wonder if this is not actually the one I intended for y'all to do, but it is idiom, like it's raining cats and dogs. Like literally cats and dogs are not falling from the sky. Maybe we'll do like 20, 25 of these and then we'll call it a day on that. I definitely did not realize there were 66 questions in this thing. Cannot stand alone as a sentence and must be accompanied by an independent clause. This is more of a grammar one. If it cannot stand alone as a sentence. Oh, come closer. Yeah. Yeah, they're the same thing, so. All right. An argument in which the premises provide reasons supporting the probable truth of the conclusion. That's a very fancy definition there. But I think it's not as complicated as it sounds. They've explained it in the worst way possible. Inductive reasoning, and we did go through inductive and deductive reasoning when we were doing just a rhetorical terms vocabulary unit, but when you see premises, you're usually talking about deductive or inductive reasoning. So you just have to think like, is it the one that goes from specific to general or general to specific? Two opposite or contrasting words, phrases, or clauses, or even ideas with parallel structure. Oh my gosh. Y'all aren't gonna. Okay, one of you got it.
I'm surprised with how many of these I'm getting right.
I know, you're doing great. A double entendre, for those of you who picked that, that's when like something can be taken in a vulgar way. Basically, if you can say that's what she said after it, that's a double entendre. Involving circumstances in which actions have an opposite effect from what was intended. Actions have an opposite effect from what was intended or expected. Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. Wait, what? Situational irony is like, for instance, did you guys read Fahrenheit 451? Oh, kind of left and came back. They're firemen in that book, but they're actually used to set fire to books. That's kind of situational irony because we expect that firemen would put out fires, but they actually start them. A seemingly contradictory situation, which is actually true. Like, paradox, yes. I'm actually looking up what that other one is because it's come up a couple of times. Zeugma. Zeugma is a figure of speech in which a word applies to two others in different sentences. Oh, interesting. This is actually kind of fun. Like John and his license expired last week. That is a zeugma. Because like if a person expires, then they die. So John expired and also his license expired. A paradox, the one that I thought of was like being, or what's the phrase? Kill them with kindness. That sounds contradictory, but it does actually mean something. Contains at least two independent clauses, but no dependent clauses. Dependent, compound, balanced, or complex. Some of this might be like review from previous, from previous English classes. We haven't really done a whole lot of grammar stuff in here. A few days on IXL. Reference to something outside of the text with which the reader is supposed to be familiar. We should know this one. An easy one, in my opinion. Oh, we didn't. Allusion. Yeah, an allusion, like if I wrote there's a poem I know that like it's not about the Mars rover, but it makes mention of the Mars rover, so it kind of expects that we just know what that is. Or like anytime there's a reference to another literary work or historical event or something like that, that's an allusion. Not to be confused with illusion, which is, vivid description that appeals to readers' five senses. We should definitely know this one because we did an exercise on it last Thursday.
My instinct was to click imagery, but for some reason
You just second guessed it. Oh, David's got 4 in a row. A comparison of one pair of variables to a parallel set of variables. One thing is meant to represent another thing.
Okay, so last night I was looking at was like I think
Mm-hmm.
I was outside looking at I started taking tea. But
I think you might have been having a stroke. I think that's a stroke symptom. I'm concerned about it.
But I'm not, I wasn't getting anything though.
Word choice, particularly as an element of style. We've also done one of our rhetoric pages on this.
Like, I wasn't eating anything. So I started working out with me, like being hungry. I already ate dinner.
Very weird.
Very weird.
The word, phrase, or clause referred to by a pronoun. So like, the girl took off her shoes. Her is referring back to the girl. Ooh, the girl is the antecedent. And you always have to have pronoun antecedent agreement. Antecedent could come up on the multiple choice. And it just means like the thing that's referred to before. If you remember our prefixes and suffixes from the other day, ante means before. Ante with an E means before. So it's the thing that the pronoun referred to before. A grammatical unit that contains both a subject and a verb and can stand alone as a sentence. We already had the opposite of this. Pretty good. Independent clause. It can stand alone independently. Yeah, right. A word or group of words placed by, y'all don't know this one. I don't think you know this one. Maybe you do. We did, yeah, no, we did this. A word or group of words placed beside a noun or noun substitute to supplement its meaning. Like if I said, my student, David, I've named the same thing twice. Yeah, a couple of you got it. Yeah, we did do that. Ordinary or familiar type of conversation. I'll give you a hint. This is a word that Mr. Benvenuti could never say right. He said it all kinds of ways, but because he taught AP Human Geography, and there was a bit in that about like colloquialisms and dialects and all kinds of stuff. I know because he used to make the kids make fun of me and my accent. We'll just go to 20 and then we'll stop on this one. An exaggerated imitation of a serious work or person for humorous purposes. Ew. Yeah, okay, 2 of you got it. I was worried that more of you are going to pick satire on that one, because obviously this is the same definition of satire, except satire is meant to criticize whatever it's making fun of.
We did that like last week.
We did it very recently.
And like I didn't remember, but I knew you said something about no.
Yep. A figure of speech in which apparently contradictory terms appear in conjunction, like jumbo shrimp or old news. I almost wish that they would include that one too, just because an oxymoron uses juxtaposition. It juxtaposes these apparently contradictory terms. But there's all types of juxtaposition, and this is specifically an oxymoron. A terse statement which expresses a general truth or moral principle. We definitely did this one back in the day. You should do some reviewing. Yeah, aphorism. All right, 2 more. Giving human-like qualities to something that's not human. We know this one. Well, I thought I was going to say personification. Yeah. Although anthropomorphism is kind of that.
I just think of cars
Yes.
I know what I'm talking about.
Anthropomorphism. One time I house sat in this like really big country house for a summer, and you could like walk down the road and there was this field of horses and it had a sign that said, please do not anthropomorphize the horses. A less offensive substitute for generally unpleasant words or concepts. Like passed away is just a blank for dying. Yeah, okay, good. We're gonna stop there for this one, but just wanted to show you guys that's an option. You can do that one on your own. That's this one. I don't know how I didn't see that it was 66 questions, but I've also got this was the Kahoot from the words that we did earlier in the year. I think that is as well as the Kahoot version. This has got a pretty long, I think there are like over 100 terms on this Quizlet. And then that's just a couple more Kahoots that y'all could do to review. Okay, I'm gonna let most people go in just a minute and try to get Kyla and David to do this survey that y'all have to do, but just wanted to give you a few pieces of advice. Number one, I would try to review some of this if you have the time today or in the morning. The AP video or the AP language channel on YouTube has a lot of good videos. I would maybe sort through that and just see, like, look at the title and see what do you think are some of your weak spots and watch those. But other than that, make sure that you get a good night's sleep so that you're not falling asleep, since this is a timed test, and make sure you eat something before you come, but nothing like too greasy or fatty, because you don't want to like suddenly have diarrhea in the middle of the exam. That'd be terrible. That'd be pretty rough. Yes. I think that would be counted as a test anomaly and we'd have to retest you later. I think that's this June 15th, Tuesday.
Okay, yeah, 'cause my mom was trying to plan an orthodontist appointment on the 14th.
Oh, okay.
And I have to go to the dress rehearsal.
Yes. Yep.
I wanted to make
Where is it?
Charleston Music Hall.
Charleston Music Hall. Yes. And I told Mr. Gray this earlier, but those of you who are singing will actually be excused from school for the whole day because you need to figure out how to get yourself there and back, which might be a little bit more complicated for you, especially if your parents are, since most of you don't drive. So it could be sort of rough. Okay, I think that is it. Any final questions? I know I'm still sharing my screen, but I'm sharing because I'm going to show David and Kyla a thing they need in just a minute. Oh, I'll show you what I posted on my Google Classroom last year on test day. It's for you guys. Alakazam, good luck on your exam. Okay, everybody who is virtual except for Kyla can leave, and I'll see y'all Thursday. I mean, I might see you briefly tomorrow. Okay, so David and Kyla, I need you guys to go to ed.sc.gov. And this is what it will look like. Man, this woman just said, Amy Carter of Chapin High School named 2022 South Carolina Teacher of the Year. My friend was up for it. She was in the final 5. I'm so bummed she didn't win. She teaches Spanish to little kids.
What are we doing after the exam?
A few other things.
Other than the podcast.
The podcast project, I can tell you exactly in just a minute. Okay, once you guys are here, there's this teal square here that says hot topics. You guys are gonna go down to this 2021 student survey. It's not long, for the record. And then you will click Start Survey. And eventually you'll have to enter your 7-digit school ID, which is here, and also, David, it's written up there, 100-1630. And once you get that in, it says Allegro Charter of Music, and that is us. And you just press the start button. I'm not going to keep doing it because I'm not in any grade, but it shouldn't take more than, it certainly won't take longer than the time that we have in class. It shouldn't even take that long. And that's all. That's all you guys have to do. All right, so if you're set up with that, Kyla, I will go ahead and let you guys go. And good luck tomorrow.
Red wheels are so ugly.